I'm with Peter Dornan of Artemis. Uh, just tell us briefly what Artemis is, Peter, just before we get into the conversation.
Okay. Artemis is a social enterprise charity. So, in essence, what it does is it's trying to connect people with places and spaces. We have lots of underutilised public facilities across the UK and Ireland, but particularly we're looking at Belfast specifically. And what we wanted to do was to say why, for instance, our schools lag half empty half a year. Let's do something worthwhile that will benefit the community. Work with government departments or whoever owns them, basically, to try and maximise community benefit.
And schools are your primary area of activity?
Well, in essence, that's where we started, so that seemed the obvious place. We work with Belfast Education Library Board, with the private company Amy, and they're building 5 new schools, and we set up the sort of pilot scheme to see if it'll work. And we've done that on the radar for 2 years now, and we think now it's ready to move out, and it's scalable, and it's worth copying.
So these schools where you've been working, there's 5 of them, and they're all new builds?
Yes.
So they were designed with this kind of idea in mind?
The difference with these are, yes, they were designed right from the start with the idea that community use would be part of the whole reason behind them, and that's a big shift in mindset even for the schools as well, that it's not their school, it's a public facility and they're a user the same as the community are users.
Can you give us an example of what that, in practical terms, a different outcome attached to these schools as opposed to, say, established schools in Belfast?
Well, I mean, the 2 North Belfast schools were specifically, and we've had 5 government departments come in to assist that, and the big lottery as well. So we have extra facilities, so their sports halls, for instance, are 80% of the largest sports halls in Europe, and brilliant facilities. We've got a 44-place childcare facility in the girls' model. We have a hairdressing and beauty facility. We have construction labs in the boys' model. We have a youth centre in the boys' model. We have an electronic village hall, which is open to the community to come in and use computers. So.
And what about classroom facilities? Are they
absolutely available? I mean, we've hundreds of classrooms in East and North Belfast at the minute who are available, and we have people in learning there most nights each week.
Well, in fact, you've only really been going for a year, but I mean, what sort of outcomes have you had for that?
Well, so far, when we particularly focused on sports and the arts and learning, and we had 97,000 people over the period of 2011, January 1st of January to 31st of December. So we've had we're getting the stage 2,000 to 3,000 people a week, somewhere near 120 groups. So we're very excited that it's making a difference.
And in terms of the kinds of facilities you've got, where's the demand? I mean, is it for classrooms? Is it for the hairdressing thing? Is it for sport?
No, the biggest demand is actually for sport. There's no question of that, and that's, as a social enterprise charity, that's where people are looking for, and we can, in a sense, make money. It's more difficult with the arts, particularly in some of the more deprived areas of Belfast where there's not a culture of going to theatre or various things, but also learning's tough, and so it tends to be that the sport makes a little bit of money, and whatever we have then we put into learning to try and to get that going.
Of course, in some respects, none of this is absolutely brand new. No. I mean, I think of St Louise's as a kind of a venue for West Belfast Talks Back. East Belfast Talks Back has been going for a couple of years now. Yeah. Ashfield, is it?
Ashfield Girls.
One of yours.
Yes.
But most of the projects you're doing at the moment are in state schools.
Yes.
Is there not kind of an implication there somehow that this is the deal that the Catholic schools can't get in on?
Absolutely not. Well, it was Amy, or the Public Services Company, that and Amy FMP, Fines, Martins and Patents, were in agreement with Belfast Education and Library Board. BLB only look after the controlled state schools, so therefore CCMS, Catholic Council for Maintained Schools, look after the Catholic schools. So essentially, the Catholic schools have been looking at that, and CCMS have been part of a group looking at the community use of schools. So it's a pilot scheme, I think, but there is no reason why this needs to stop, and it can involve integrated schools, Irish medium schools, and probably grammar schools as well. There's no problem with that.
So what would the implications for? I mean, we were talking earlier on about one of the schools having a 3rd generation AstroTurf pitch.
Yes, the boys model.
Can you talk us through that? why is that? Why is it important to put something like that in rather than just stick it in grass?
Well, I mean, Decal and Sport and I have done various surveys. We're short of all sorts of pitches, and Belfast City Council and that too. So we're looking at trying to put these in a place that can be used during the day, but also then open and the community can use them until 10 o'clock each night. Third generation astroturf is very important, or 2G for hockey pitches, because we can use them morning to night, whereas used grass, you're only allowed 300 to maximum 500 hours per year, which is very quickly used up, so it means much more use for the community.
So in a sense, if new schools or even old schools want to kind of get into this program, there's going to be a certain amount of investment required.
Yes, there's initial, but basically, it is one of the areas that you can actually, it'll pay for itself.
Now, one of the anxieties that's got to be around this is that there are already quite extensive leisure facilities around Belfast. You're talking about the boys and girls model, and you're talking about Ballysillan, and not so much out East Belfast. I suppose Avonil would probably be Avonil's still going.
It is.
But I mean, there's kind of a clash of interest there potentially.
Yeah. Well, Belfast City Council, we've been in negotiations with them, and actually Rose Crozier from Parks and Leisure actually sits on Artemis as one of our board members, and they are fully aware of that. So I mean, very much we're about mutuality about this placement in Artemis as part of our social enterprise ethos. So we're working with them, we're talking with them. The Belfast Leisure Estate, if you like, was put together in the middle of the Troubles, and it was used as a distraction in a lot of ways for a lot of the trouble, particularly in hotspots, and it's now coming to the end of its life. So Belfast City Council are having, like the rest of the government departments and the rest of the community, sitting down saying, how do we best go forward and manage the Belfast estate, and we're looking at them.
And of course, I mean, you say distraction, but also there were some practical reasons as to why districts got their own. It was safer, basically.
Absolutely.
And is this not, because it's kind of going through the education system, is this not just, protracting or procreating further division? I mean, what's the potential for community sharing for these buildings that it's wider than just a single identity definition?
Well, I think things are in a very early stage at this point in time, but and I think for the first time the government departments are sitting down. We've had 5 government departments in the North Belfast area. We're looking particularly with Decal in terms of sports facilities as well as Belfast City Council. So it's early stages, but we all know that we have to start to work together to put these things and create an estate that's used all of the time for all of the people.
And you find, I mean, you mentioned earlier on St Enda's up in North Belfast.
So yeah, well, the great news is, it started at first, these are state schools and they only open to one side of the community, but we're very clear that we've got all sorts of groups in. So I'm delighted in Ballysillan Leisure Centre, Ballysillan area. We've got the youth club, which is open to all sorts of people. We've got St Enda's Camogie at the girls' model. We've got athletics groups coming in. We've got the Festival Dance Teachers Association doing their competitions and lots of dancing of all sorts.
Okay, well that's great. But where's the community in all of this?
Well, we've got 100,000 people in the community coming in over a year in the 5 areas. So part of what we're looking at is just trying to make sure that we're listening, that we're responding to what the need is. So we're always open to anybody from the community saying we will, and particularly, part of our Artemis too is we want to create social change through clever business, and we're trying to particularly partner with local change makers. We have great facilities, but they're only as good as the key people in the community who want to make a difference come and partner with us, and we'll do move heaven and earth, and we like to say yes if we can do that.
That's great, thanks very much.